Okay, I am gonna get started. It looks like our participants rolling in is slowing down a little bit. Um, thank you all for joining us for this webinar, which is entitled Strengthening Leadership in Challenging Times. My name is Crystal DeVance-Wilson. I'm the director of the Maryland Nursing Workforce Center at the University of Maryland School of Nursing. For those of you who may benefit from a visual description, I'm a Black woman wearing glasses, got a polka dot shirt on, and speaking to you from an office setting. Dr. Hampton, who could not join us today, and I have been working with Lead Nursing Forward for the past couple of years on retention in nursing. We're wrapping up some ongoing quantitative survey, and we've also had the opportunity to conduct some focus groups. It was the focus groups that started us thinking about the challenges of leading and especially leading from the middle, that middle management kind of thing. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Spence at a leadership meeting hosted by the National Forum for State Nursing Workforce Centers and thought the Maryland nursing community might be interested in what he had to say. So let me introduce Mr. John Spence. He is recognized as one of the top business thought leaders and leadership development experts in the world, and was named by the American Management Association as one of America's top 50 leaders to watch, along with Sergey Brin and Larry Page of Google and Jeff Bezos of Amazon. At age 26, John was named CEO of an international Rockefeller Foundation, overseeing projects in 20 countries. John is a committed learner, reading over 100 business books each year. He has shared his knowledge at more than 90 universities, including MIT, Stanford, Cornell, and the Wharton School of Business. His experience includes being CEO of 4 companies, and he currently serves as a trusted advisor to numerous organizations worldwide, from startups to the Fortune 10. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. John Spence.
Thank you, Crystal. That was a wonderful, wonderful introduction. For anyone that might be sight impaired, I'm an old, fat, white, bald guy. No, I saw a few of you laughing. I'm sitting in my office with a bookcase behind me with a couple of hundred books on it, and those are 2 bookcases of 13 like that in my office, so I am a pretty voracious reader. Do spend a lot of time in different companies. I'm wearing a white shirt and I am bald. And I was going to make more jokes about myself, but I won't. For those that might be sight impaired, all of my slides are basically pictures. Nothing special, nothing interesting. So I will read, and most of them only have 1 word on them. So I will read the word and describe what I'm going over, but I'm not going to go into great detail about all the pictures. It's just background. For those hearing impaired, I will try to speak slowly, which is very challenging for me. Like I said, if you've got questions or comments, put them in the chat. Adriana from Madrid, who's an incredibly lovely young lady with long black hair, wearing a white shirt and sitting in her apartment in Madrid. We'll be checking the chat and bouncing in and answering questions from there. All of you should have something out to take notes or go through the workshop with. We're going to go through a bunch of material. Then we've got 2 major workshops where you'll be sharing information in breakout rooms, and then several workshops where you'll do individual work. So with that, we'll get started. Let me attempt to share my screen because I'm pretty good at that. Boom. Share. Okay. Adriana, are we cool on the screen there? Yes, okay, I see the thumbs up. So this is a picture of sort of I don't even know how to do it. uh, I don't know, a thing that you look out over cities like a big giant pair of binoculars. And the reason I put this up is I've been studying leadership now for about 35 years. I've run several companies. I spend a lot of my time now consulting and working, and I'm actually very involved at the Florida Center for Nursing. So I know a fair amount about your industry. I've been with them for about 3 years, helping them with their strategy and other things. So, what I'm going to share with you is not only the stuff I've studied, but what I've seen. Being in companies, being in the hospital industry, I was also spent, I believe it was 7 years, running the leadership and development program for the Mayo Clinic. So, fairly involved in the healthcare industry. But my job is not to be an expert on the healthcare industry. I'm going to share with you today two major ideas around leadership, and then we're going to talk about resilience. The first thing we're going to cover is what I call the non-negotiables of leadership. These are the fundamentals that no matter what level you're in the organization, if you lead one person, they look up to you to lead them effectively. So if you lead one or 10 or 500, you still have to be an outstanding leader. So step one, I'm going to look at the non-negotiables, things that every leader must do. And then we're going to look at three quotients that I believe you must have to be successful as a leader in the future. And that last quotient is going to be about resilience and being able to handle difficult situations and challenging situations. And the second half, or the last third, will all be about resilience and leading from the middle. So there's sort of an overview of where we're headed. So this is a question that I asked 10,000, more than 10,000 high potential employees at top companies around the world. Over the years, whenever I do a training class and I've done some surveys, I ask them, what are the characteristics of a leader you would willingly follow? Not iconic leaders or famous leaders from history, but who's the kind of person you want to work for every day and spend time with? And they told me six things, I believe, I'm pretty sure. I'm always fine tuning this, that I made all start with the letter C, so it would be easier for me to remember them. So let's get into those. The first, and actually the most important, is character. Another word for that would be honesty or integrity, but it's pretty straightforward. Tell the truth all the time, period. There's a phrase that says, tell me the truth 99 times, lie to me once, you're a liar. And this is based, remember, these first ones I tell you are not necessarily my philosophy of leadership. This is the survey answers from more than 10,000 top employees at every kind of company. This would be healthcare, software, everything you can imagine. I've got some colleagues named Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner who wrote a great book called The Leadership Challenge, but I don't write that down yet or think about it. It's a wonderful book based on their research, which is about 30 years, several million respondents on 4 continents, and they asked the same question I did. That's where I got the question. What are the characteristics of a leader you would willingly follow? Uh, and I'm going to give you what they told me there, and we'll go through that. And by the way, I recommend a lot of books. And if you want me to recommend a book, just put it in the chat, and I'm happy to do that. And Adriana, we're going to have a resource page as well that
Yes.
you can go to later. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That I'll have my suggested book list. We'll have a bunch of other resources for you, some videos I've shot, all free. Just go and use it all. But here's what my friends Kouzes and Posner came up with. They said that to be a leader, there are these things. Number one, you need to be honest. On their several million people around the world, 30 years, 4 continents, 96% of the people, we'll just basically call it almost 100% of the people said, the single most important thing I look for in a leader, an ideal leader that I want to follow, is they tell the truth. The next one was forward looking. Another word for that would be visionary. They've got a compelling vision. And, some people say the vision's only set at the top of the organization. They may set a long term vision, But if you lead one person or a small group or a team, they look to you to set the vision for your team. Or if you're just the only leader, they look to you to set the vision for the two of us. So vision is critical at every level in leadership. So we've got honest, forward looking. The next one is competent. And there's two levels to competent. You've got to be highly competent at your job duties, whatever those might be, really, really good at what you do. The word I like to use is you approach it like a craftsperson. It's not just a job or a profession, which are both critical, but you're a craftsperson who's dedicated to always getting better, always improving. So that competency, and then you have to be highly competent as a leader. So we've got honest, forward looking, competent, which is good at your job and good as a leader. The next one is inspiring. And this doesn't mean you have to be a cheerleader or super extroverted, or be able to get people all riled up and excited and, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. You can actually be very introverted and be an outstanding leader. And the way I look at this is if you are passionate and you are inspired, you are inspiring. If people see that you really care about what you do, you love what you do, you care about them. It's not just about you, it's about helping everybody. If you're deeply inspired by the work you do, that will inspire other people, whether you're extroverted or introverted, doesn't really matter. And then the last two they came up with, those first four were probably 20 years were the strongest four that came up over and over and over again. Honest, forward looking, competent, inspiring. And then in the last 10 years or so, two more got added to that list: fair and supportive. I feel like my boss, my leader is fair to me. The rules are fair. The work is fair, and that they support me. So let me take their several decades of research and boil it down to one slide. And this is a slide of a older woman reading some stuff, a piece of paper. And here's what it says: I want a leader who will tell me the truth, who has a clear vision for where we are going, has the skills to get us there successfully, is excited about going with me, and will treat me fairly and support me along the way. So you've got there some of the absolute best research ever done on what it takes to be an ideal leader, an effective leader. I mentioned their book, The Truth About Leadership, or The Leadership Challenge. Excellent book. A lot of data in that. They wrote another book called The Truth About Leadership. The Truth About Leadership by Kouzes and Posner, Kouzes and Posner, that is much shorter. It's only about 160 pages, 150 pages, and it's really about how to apply these ideas. So I recommend that book very highly. All right, the next slide, it just says courage on it. And again, this is what they told me. I want a leader who's courageous, who can, make difficult decisions, make big, bold bets, take the tough decisions, handle difficult issues or problems with a calm confidence. But what I really want, and this is fascinating, was a leader who is strong enough and courageous enough to be vulnerable. And this is an idea I'm seeing more and more about top employees looking for their leader to be honest, authentic, vulnerable. And of course, you have to decide at what level you want to be vulnerable. You can't go too far and say, I have no idea what I'm doing. But really, what they're talking about is being willing to ask for help, admit that you might not know something, being able to hand off and delegate things because you trust the smart people around you that they can handle it. So in one hand, I need you to be courageous in the face of challenges, and then courageous enough to ask for help and defer to other people who might have more expertise. All right. The next one is competency. And I mentioned that one a little bit from Kouzes and Posner's research. I've got a big section on this in just a little while. So we're just going to leave competency as one of the key areas. And you're going to see it pop up a couple of times. Next one is communication. And this is a picture of several people talking with African American gentlemen giving some direction and chatting with other people. Here's what they told me. I expect my leader to be a good communicator, to be able to explain things clearly, to talk to a group, to share their vision, to talk about where the organization is going. But again, here's the twist, sort of like courage and vulnerability. What they told me is what I really want in a great communicator is someone who's asks great questions and is an intense listener. Someone who's curious, who wants to know what I'm thinking, what my ideas are, what my suggestions are, constantly trying to get my advice and what I'm thinking. And then they are focused on me. They turn off the electronics. They've got great body language. They're focused on me. They're writing notes. They're listening. So got to be able to talk well, but it's more important to be curious and to be an intense listener. And I'll make an interesting point here. I think next to honesty, curiosity is probably the second most important element of an effective leader. Constantly wanting to learn and grow and know more and trying to learn from their people. All right, going at a good pace. I hope everybody should give me a thumbs up. Yep, there we go. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. That saved me. Next one is collaboration. And again, let me share with you what they told me. They said, I understand if my leader has to tell me what to do from time to time, directive. But what I really want is a leader who often rolls up their sleeves, gets in there, works shoulder to shoulder with me, does the work, and is part of the team that's collaborating with us and helping us all so that we have shared wins and shared work, and we do this as a team, as a group. If you do that most of the time, when you do have to pull rank and say, do this because I told you to, or do this because I'm your manager or your boss, whatever it is, if most of the time you're a team member and collaborating, that time when you need to pull rank, people are happy to accept it. If it's the reverse and you're focused mostly on command and control, telling people what to do, they're eventually going to get to the point where they resent that because they don't feel like they're valuable, that you think you're better or above them or what it might be. So a lot of the time, collaborating, being in there with your folks, being a team member. The next is compassion. And this is just a picture of a very nice young lady smiling. And what we're focused on here is, and this has become really more important in the last, this has been important for a while. I think the pandemic spiked it quite a bit. And this is about having genuine care and concern for your folks, realizing that they have a life outside of the office, that they have a family or a significant other, or they've got a hobby or something they want to be involved in, and that they can't dedicate 152% of their life just to their job. There's an interesting idea that I just turned 62 a couple of months ago, so I've been thinking about this a long time, and there's a word that I've started using in leadership, which is the L word, which is love. And I'm a very, very strong believer that leadership is love in action. But the idea here is moral love. And moral love says, I care about you. I have compassion. I have concern. I want to help you be successful. But I also care about you enough to hold you to a high level of accountability. I think this is one of the most challenging things for a lot of leaders is holding people accountable. It's out of three or four things that I see organizations struggle with, accountability is among the top three or four. And here's the idea around moral love and accountability. I care about you enough to believe in you, to know that you can do a great job, and that I'm going to hold you to a standard of excellence and hold you accountable to that because it's what's best for you and the organization. And there's a big difference here, and I see it in many organizations, between being nice and being kind. Uh, I'll use one of my clients, and they wouldn't mind this, but it's State Farm Insurance, and they have a thing called State Farm Nice, and they've got a really super nice culture. If you came in wearing a really stupid hat, and you look like an idiot, no one would say that. They go, "Oh, that's an interesting hat you're wearing today," or "Wow, that's I've never seen a hat like that before." That's being nice. Uh, the When we go to accountability, that's not being kind. If I'm nice to someone and let them turn in mediocre work, turn stuff in late, show up late, be at meetings late, whatever it might be, if I tolerate mediocrity, I'm really setting that person up for failure. I'm not holding them to standards and I'm not holding them to a level of excellence. And if I continue to let them slip, it might eventually cost them their job. And that is not being kind to that person if you truly care about them, if you love them from a moral love standpoint. So, from accountability and compassion, you need to be able to balance this idea of being nice with being kind. Hopefully, you found that idea helpful. It's something that a lot of people struggle with. So, compassion is genuine care, genuine concern. Doesn't mean you need to be people's best friend or their therapist, but it does mean that you care about them enough that you want to be successful and to contribute to them having a great career and a great life. And then the last one is contribution. And this is a picture of a big tree. And I always use this slide of the big tree because the idea here, from a contribution standpoint, is you need to leave a legacy of leadership. You need to leave the place better than you found it and build a legacy of other leaders. And the reason I use the tree is this phrase, you must plant the seeds of trees under which you may never sit. I work with a lot of companies, or I used to work with a lot of companies in Japan, and some of them were, this is amazing. Some of the companies were more than 1,000 years old. They built temples, they made rice wine, they made sake, and they have a lot of these, a 100-year plan. So today, the leaders in that organization sit and think, how do we make sure that this place is better 100 years from now? What can we contribute? How can we help? How can we leave a legacy? We don't do that much in America, but great organizations and great leaders think long term. Yes, you have to fix what's immediately in front of you. Yes, you've got to be agile and adaptable. We'll get to that in a minute. But you also need to think long term and say, am I bringing people up? Am I building other leaders? Am I making great contributions to the organization to help the organization be more successful? So those are I believe, 7 C's. That's how I remember it. See if I can do this here. Courage, tell the truth all the time. No, character, tell the truth all the time. Courage, have the courage to be vulnerable. Communications, be very curious and being an intense listener. Be highly competent. Be great at collaborating. Be a team player, and then show compassion, genuinely care about your people, and then leave a legacy of leadership. So I'm going to stop there for a second. This is what the more than 10,000 people have told me what they look for in a leader that they would trust, respect, and admire. And if there's anything in the chat, Adriana, you need to let me know. Stop me at any time. So that's step one. And these are what I call the non-negotiables of leadership. Everybody needs to do these things, whether you lead one person or you lead an entire organization. Now, to be successful going forward in the future, I believe that there's 3 quotients you need. And this is just sort of a picture of icons of some drawing of people thinking with a light bulb at the top of it. And there's 3 words here, 3 acronyms: IQ, EQ, and AQ. So let me go into each one of these. IQ. Here, I don't mean the number. I mean competence. Are you good at what you do, and are you constantly getting better? I'll challenge you guys to something, and I'm going to think the group right now in this webinar is probably at the top of this list. But I want you to think about this. And actually, in the chat, you guys can, I'm going to pull up the chat. I'm going to kind of try. Oh, the chat's, hang on. I am. Chat. Um, how many books do you think the average professional reads for job improvement or life improvement per year to get better at their job, better at communicating, better at leading, better at conflict resolution, better at active listening, or something to make themselves better, to reduce stress or be a better husband or wife or partner. So, in the average, how many books do you think, or the equivalent thereof, the average person reads per year? And I'm looking. You guys are writing lots of great notes. So I've got two, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 1 in the chat, 5. Wow, somebody's enthusiastic. 4, 1, 1, 3. Okay, few, dot, 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 1. I'll go with that one. 0.5, 0.5. The equivalent thereof. That's 0.5 equals, uh, you know, well, I'll give you the actual numbers here. If you were to read or study or listen to audiobooks or read blogs or whatever it might be, listen to podcasts, if you were to spend 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week dedicated to your life, to your personal learning, that would be the equivalent of about 6 books a year, which would put you in the top 5 to 7% in the world for personal development, for you trying to make yourself better. So 6 books a year puts you in the top 5 to 7%. If you were to do what the equivalent of 12 books a year, one a month, you're in the top 1 to 3% on the face of the earth for dedicating yourself to lifelong learning. Crystal was nice enough, and I mentioned at the beginning, I'm sitting in my office with a couple of bookshelves. I've been trying to read a minimum of 100 to 120 books a year for self-improvement or business improvement since 1989. That does not make me a genius. It just means I have access to more information and ideas than most people. Here's what I'm going to share with you. Today, we have more information available than for free than any time in the human race. So if you want to be an effective leader, if you want to handle stress and pressure well, lead well from the middle, be resilient, there is no excuse for you not to create your own personal learning path. And I'm going to sort of I wrote a book on leadership, not going to plug it, but I'll boil the entire book down to just this phrase. I'm good at what I do, and I do it because I care about you. I'm good at what I do, and I do it because I care about you. I'm serious about my profession, my craft. I'm studying, I'm learning, I ask for help, I go to webinars, I've got mentors, I've got colleagues that help me. I'm constantly investing at getting better at my job. And as a leader, or as anyone really, I do it all in service to my team, to the organization, to our patients. Uh, I'm good at what I do, and I do it because I care about you. I think that's a good definition of servant leadership and someone who leads with moral love. So you guys are doing great on the chat. Hopefully, I'm still going at a good pace. If I'm not, put something in the chat, and Adriana will be happy to slow me down. So IQ is really competence. And we talked about it, good at your job, and also good as a leader and constantly getting better. There we go. So here's our first workshop. And what I'd like you to do is think about this in the picture of a very nice elderly lady, probably much younger than me. And the workshop is I'd like you to make a list, and two lists actually. And at the top of the page, or whatever you're doing, one list will be about the best boss I've ever had, and the other list will be about the worst boss I've ever had. Best boss ever, worst boss ever. Under those, I'd like you to list the characteristics, attitudes, attributes of the very best leader I've ever had. and the same for the very worst leader. So on list one, what are the attributes, characteristics, behaviors, competencies? What made one leader so amazingly great? And then on the other list, what are the things, the competencies, actions, behaviors, attitudes, whatever it might be, that one made one so bad? So I'll give you a couple of minutes for each of you to do that workshop. And then Adriana, we are going to break them into groups after we get go a little bit further in the workshop.
Sounds great. Thank you, John.
Give you about 2 minutes more to do this. List one, the attitudes, attributes, characteristics, competencies. What was it about that made that leader so fantastic? The other list, same idea around what made that leader so bad. Best boss ever, worst boss ever. And get 5 or 6 on each list, at least. You've got 1 minute left. I have a little timer here, so I'm going to make sure I stay on time. Got about 10 seconds left. Okay, so hopefully each of you have 5 or 6 under each one of those. And I'm getting some text here, so I'm going to double check to make sure that's not Adriana texting me to tell me I'm messing something up or I'm doing something great. Oh, nope, it's my wife sending me some hearts because today is our anniversary. How sweet. So here's what I'd like you to do on both of those lists. Next to each of the attributes that you listed, I want you to put next to it whether it's an IQ issue, competence, or an EQ or emotional intelligence issue. So is it about competence and skills that made one so great or one so bad? Or is it about behavior or emotions or the way they acted that made one so good or one so bad? So next to each one for both lists, IQ or EQ, competence, skills, intelligence, or behavior, attitudes, actions, things of that nature. IQ and EQ for both lists. Give you about a minute to do that. Got about 30 seconds left. For some of you, you're going to finish these really fast. For others, you're still going to be working when I cut the time off. I apologize. It's kind of hard to know when you've got a large group to know when to start or stop. So we're doing the best we can. Got about 10 seconds left. Okay, this is the last individual part of this. Now what I'd like you to do is from both lists combined, add up all the IQs for one total number for the entire combined lists, total IQ, and then a total for EQ or emotional intelligence. So competence or behavior, attitude, emotional intelligence. So add up all the IQs, give me one number, add up all the EQs, total, give me one number for those. And then Adriana, we're going to break them into work groups right after this. So we'll give them about a minute to do this.
Sounds good.
Okay, about 10 seconds left. Perfect, exactly. So here's what I'm going to do, or we're going to do with Adriana's assistant. We're going to send you out to work group rooms. I'm going to give you about I'll give you about 8 minutes or so. Obviously, you're going to take a minute quickly or two to quickly introduce yourselves to everybody. So I'll bounce it up to 10 minutes. Then here's what I want you to do as a group. I want you to add all of the IQs for the entire group together and get one total number for the entire group, and all of the EQs from everyone in the group and get one total number for EQs. So I want one total number for your entire group on IQ, one number for your entire group on EQ, and then I'd like you to take a couple of minutes and discuss what were some of the themes that came up over and over, both in IQ and EQ? What seemed to be at the top of the list that all of you identified? So let's go, we're going to go 12 minutes for this. I keep adding because I know you got to take a minute or two to introduce yourselves. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll break for about 12 minutes. Adriana will send you all out into work groups. When you come back, you're going to need one person who can represent your group. Who has the numbers and can share with us a few ideas. And then I'm going to call on a couple of people to give us their feedback. So, Adriana, you can send them all to workshop. Make sure you get the name of your room so you know where you're supposed to be. There we go.
Everyone should be leaving by now.
Okay, excellent. Can they unmute themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Even in the main room with us, they can unmute.
You can unmute.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi. I wasn't sure if I should join a group only because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. I wanted to, but it
No,
would
you
be
can if you want
interesting to
to.
hear. But
Totally up to you.
no,
Crystal, am I going at a good pace? Is everything going fine?
I think so. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm here. I prefer to hear from the audience only because, oh, there's other people.
Well,
Yes.
we'll hear from them. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have any direction for me of speed
No,
up,
I
slow
think it's
down,
fine.
explain things more.
I feel like I'm a little biased because some of the things that you're saying, I've heard them before. And,
Okay,
I really want to yield to these guys.
perfect.
So there are some people who, oh, they're going, I guess, into their rooms.
John, you're
Um,
doing a great job. Compared to
I think
other
so.
engagements, you're going very slow and you're explaining everything wonderfully.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm going to go hop in a few rooms to listen to them
Oh,
and
you
get an.
are? Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm just going to go listen in on them. Catch you kids in a little while.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'll stay here.
John, I have the timer for 12 minutes. I will let everyone know 5 minutes prior.
Okay, excellent.
Great. I'm gonna go off video.
Sounds good. I was still monitoring everything.
Session soon. Anyone else have anything else to contribute?
Hi, John. Everyone is back.
Oh, okay, cool. Good enough. That went faster than I thought it would. Cool. I've got one group I see. Everyone's back in the room. Okay, let me check here. Well, it looks like we do have everyone. How exciting. Cool beans. Adriana, I'm seeing you on the screen.
Yes, you.
Okay,
Eh,
and there. Okay. Am I up or what where are we on the game plan here?
we are going to put everyone's thoughts on the chat from the discussion.
Oh, well, that would be good. Or no, can we have a couple people from the teams volunteer quickly to explain?
Definitely.
Sure. So what I'd like to do first, and then a couple of you get ready to share your
Oh,
hands. Oh,
Julie raised her hand.
of
Let
course she
me.
did. She's on top of this. What I'd like to do first is have all of the teams, whoever the key person on the team is, type into the chat their numbers of total IQ and total EQ. So I'd like to get that number first before we go forward and have some discussion. So, okay, now we're going. Oh, you guys are too fast for me. So I want to get the total team numbers, not the individual numbers. There we go. Okay. Hang on a second. That's good enough. Let me see. Okay, it's looking from what I can do here and the ones I'm seeing, we got 7. I'm terrible at this. 12, 20. Okay, you guys are not as strong as normally I get, which is interesting. But you're definitely almost 2 times as much EQ as IQ. So I've got 37 EQ, 17 IQ, 12 IQ, 20 EQ. You guys are looking at the chat. 7 IQ, 22 EQ, 7 IQ, 12 IQ. What I normally see, you guys are pretty close. Let me get back. Am I spotlighted there? Or now we're going to do the team stuff. Rather than have you guys discuss, let's put in the chat. I think we're going to do it quicker this way because I'm doing good on time. Put a couple of the big ones that sort of showed up on both lists. What are some of the behaviors, attitudes, um, and that you saw over and over again that popped up on either list or both lists? Put that in the chat. Okay. Leader incompetence, that would be a competence thing. Yeah. Being unavailable, micromanaging, that's a behavior thing, an EQ thing. And transparency, teamwork, self-awareness, IQ, unclear competence, honesty. So we've got actually, those are all EQ except for competence. Micromanaging is EQ. Feedback, listening, visionary, EQ. Empathy, compassion for employees and supportive, EQ. We did not discuss your actual thing. Okay, whoever group that's in, you guys all get out of here. Just kidding. Compassion, consistency, self-centered, all EQ. Consistency, action-oriented, visionary, fostered opportunity. Most of these guys, and maybe I didn't do my instructions well enough. So communication, both IQ and EQ. So yeah, we're showing up here the same stuff. Yeah, competence and ongoing learning on both lists. Both were competent and smart, but motivation for learning was different. Worst leader was self-focused and self-serving. I'm going to guess. Yeah. So as you guys look at the chat and I'm reading them, you can see that most of these are actually EQ. Here's what I found in the past. And let's go back to, let me go my slides. And here we are from current slide. We good, Adriana? Or
Yes,
everybody else?
yes, we are.
Oh, cool. You can see I'm a world-class expert at doing this. What I typically, and once we put them in the chat, I saw that EQ is usually 3 to 5 times more important than IQ. Although I was at NASA once, and when they started to report the numbers, I was very concerned because they were all rocket scientists. But then HR jumped in and equaled things out. But here's what we see. If you're really, really good at what you do, but you can't get along with other people, with and through other people, it's impossible to be an effective leader. So I happen to be a big fan, and the research in our little workshop just showed that EQ is actually more important than IQ. So let me move forward. Last one. Here's a quote from General Eric Shinseki that I love this quote. It's one of my favorites. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. The fourth one was your AQ. So we had IQ, competence, EQ, your emotional intelligence, and AQ is your adaptability quotient or your ability to successfully navigate change. And there's several elements to this. And I've got a picture here of a wonderful smiling man. It looks like he's from India, I think, based on his shirt and look. Number one is learning agility. And this is a cool idea here. This is your ability to be a voracious learner, constantly bringing in new ideas, reading, studying, getting a mentor, being, going to seminars and webinars, but really being focused on learning. Here's the key part. This is fun. Also being good at unlearning, figuring out the stuff that no longer works, things we used to do. I mean, with the speed of technology and everything else going on, there is so much happening so fast that we've got to be able to unlearn quickly. And that can be hard for a lot of us that have been doing something the same way for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, which leads to the last one is relearning. So learning agility is being able to learn quickly, unlearn quickly, and then relearn the new way to do it, which leads to number two, which is flexibility. Do you have the ability, now that you've unlearned something and relearn it, to change your actions and behaviors, to bring that on board and now change the way that I interact and work with other people? Number three on the list is innovation, because if new ideas are happening, new things are happening, you're being agile, adaptable, moving quickly, then you're going to be experimenting and trying new things. And then some of them are going to fail. And obviously, you all are from an industry where in certain areas, failure is not acceptable. It's life or death. So I'm not talking about when I was at the Mayo Clinic and a couple other hospitals I've worked for. I've had to underline this. I understand that innovation and creativity and such sometimes happens from healthcare, but I also know that they're trying brand new things that fail, that impact patients negatively. Not what I'm talking about. Then the last one is resilience, is the ability to bounce back from failure, or as we're talking about now, to be successful in very high level pressure times. And right now, we all have a need to be resilient. So I'm going to share with you some tools actually, I'm going to ask you to do this on your own. So when we get done with this workshop, what I'd like you to do is spend some time to think about what are the top 5 characteristics you would look for in an ideal leader. And you can make the list a little bit longer for if you want to. But what are the characteristics, attitudes, attributes, competencies that you think a truly great leader should manifest, that they should have and behave? Then I'm going to suggest, and I'm looking over here to get something off my own cork board, that you write those down and that you use them. And here's mine. It's probably out of focus and everything, but this is my list of what I believe are the most important characteristics of an ideal leader. And I would encourage you to create a list like this. And then I look at this every day before I start work. And I tell myself, this is the kind of leader I want to be, and this is who I need to be today. And then oftentimes at the end of the day or the next morning when I come in, I rate myself. How well did I do on that? Am I living up to my standards? Am I being the kind of leader that I truly believe is the kind of leader that could do well in this organization, that's going to help other people and leave a legacy of leadership? So there's a solid tool that you can create and use every single day to hold yourself to a high standard of being the very best leader you can be. So next we're going to talk about resilience. And I've got a picture here of a bowl that's been broken, and in the broken places, it's gold. They've filled the cracks with gold. And this is a Japanese idea called kintsugi, which means that when something precious breaks, like this bowl, that the Japanese or this philosophy says you don't throw it away, you fix it, and it's actually stronger in the places that it was broken. I think this is a beautiful idea. And what I've written here is that life doesn't get easy or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. So I want to share with you a couple of things. And as I do this, I want you to write down, reflect on these. And I'm going to give you a minute or two each one. But these are also things that you should take away and really reflect on at a deeper level. And just like this leadership list I showed you, being able to think about these tools I'm going to give you day in and day out to help you be more resilient in the face of change. So luckily, resilience is a skill. And I've got a picture here of a gentleman sort of looking a little bewildered. And here's what it says. Resilience isn't an innate trait. It's a set of behaviors, thoughts, and actions. So resilience is a skill you can learn and improve. And it's one that I would recommend that you continue to work on and try to improve all the time. So here's a couple of tools. The first one is negative self-talk. And it's hard to be resilient when you're beating yourself up. And I think I don't think, I know that a lot of people say things to themselves in their head that they would never allow someone else to say to them. I want you to reflect for a minute on that in your own thinking. Sometimes we say stuff to ourselves that we would never allow someone else to say. And the key idea here in resilience is to catch yourself and change that inner dialogue, change those words. One of the ways, and I did this with a client the other day, is what's called sentence stem training, which is you start a sentence and fill in the back of it. Here's one that I'd like you to think about. I'm the kind of guy or gal that always, uh, you know, think to yourself, I'm the kind of person that always blank, does what, is what, how do you behave? So I'll give you a second to think about that. Write something down. I'm the kind of person who always, or who. So one of the ideas here is to become very, very good at your self-talk. Uh, for example, my answer to that, I'm the kind of person where everything always works out well for me. No matter what happens, I know it's going to turn out fine. One way or the other, it's going to be great. And I have a whole lifetime of, even through the most challenging areas, I'm sitting in front of you. So, as far as I'm concerned, even though things were tough sometimes, everything's worked out well. Uh, I'm the kind of person, I'm just using my own, that's always kind to other people. I always try to make other people smile. I always try to show great respect and treat people with dignity. So I would suggest you spend some time, sit down and write out a bunch of those sentences. I'm the kind of person who always. I'm the kind of person who never. I'm the kind of person who truly values. And go through that. And what you're going to do is create a list for yourself, some ideas, so that when you say, I'm terrible at this, or I'll never be good at that, or I always mess things up, you can say to yourself, if you write it and say, I'm the kind of person that always messes things up, to back up and go, no, 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 no. I need to change that. I need to be my own best friend, not my own worst enemy, which is going to lead me to the second thing is, along with self-talk, we often tell ourselves very negative stories. And I've got a picture of a dump truck here with the information says, recognize when you are telling yourself a distorted story. So I'll give you an example from one of my classes years ago. I was describing this idea, and I want you all to think about, and it could be people you know, it might be people you know well, it might be somebody sitting in your chair that tends to get into a negative spiral and telling a story that gets worse and worse and worse. And I had a woman in one of my classes who said, oh, John, I know exactly what you're talking about. I live up on a hill, and down at the bottom of the hill is a guy who rebuilds cars, antique cars. And he's got a bunch of them up there on jacks and on bricks and things like that. And one day my son was playing at the edge of the hill with his dump truck, hence the reason I have the little toy dump truck here. And she goes, I ran up to my son and said, get away from the edge of that hill. You are a clumsy boy. You're always falling down. You're going to fall down. You're going to roll down that hill. You're going to hit one of those cars. You're going to knock the jack out. It's going to fall down and crush your legs. I'm going to try to run down there. I'm going to fall down too. Then I'm going to try to pick the truck up off of you. I'm going to blow out my back, and I'll have to push you around in a wheelchair for the rest of my life with a bad back. And she said, my little son picked up his toy truck and said, you're sick, Mom, and walked away. And that was an actual, all my stories are true. That was an actual story. So my challenge to you is, do you ever do that to yourself? Do you start down a negative spiral where you think of worst case, worst case, worst case, and it gets to where you've spun yourself into anxiety and stress and all these things. And here's the way I look at it. You're telling yourself a story anyways, so why not tell yourself a good one? Why not, you're basically making stuff up. So make up something that's supportive and that's positive and that ends up well. And I will tell you that will lead you to have better ideas, better emotions, better feelings, make better choices based on the story you tell yourself. Big element of resilience. Next one, tell you a quick story here. I grew up in Miami, Florida, to a very wealthy family. My father was a very famous malpractice attorney, lived in a big house. I went to one of the top prep schools in the country, got really good grades. I got accepted to a lot of different colleges and universities. And I chose the University of Miami in Miami, Florida, because it was close to the beach and my girlfriend, which is not really why you should choose the school you go to, which is also why in the third semester I failed out and got kicked out of the university. Problem: my father was one of the top people ever to graduate from that university. The year I got kicked out, he was on the board of directors of the university, and there was a wing of the law school named after my dad. Uh, I got removed from the University of Miami and from my family. And I moved up to Gainesville, where I live now, Gainesville, Florida. And I've got a picture here of the University of Florida. And I tried to get into the University of Florida, and they literally laughed at me. When I handed in my transcripts, the woman looked at my transcripts and she went, "We don't take people like you." And I live about 10 minutes from this picture here of the University of Florida. I walked down, sat on the sidewalk, and started to cry and realized that I had really messed my life up. Uh, I had to restart college at a community college, did well there, got into the University of Florida eventually, graduated there number 4 in the United States in my major. And as Crystal mentioned earlier, I became the CEO of an international Rockefeller Foundation when I was 26, traveling all over the world. Here's my point. I would not be sitting here today. I would not have the job or the career I had I not failed out of the University of Miami. At the time, I thought it was devastating. I thought that I had thrown my life away, that I was going to spend the rest of my life, saying, "Would you like fries with that today?" But now I look back, and that failure was actually the thing that lifted my life up and made it much, much better. So I'd like each of you to take a minute or two and think about something in your life that you thought was a tremendous failure, but now you look back and it's a great thing that it happened. It led to really good things. So I'll give you about a minute to write down a couple of ideas about what did you see as a horrific failure that actually turned out to be a tremendous positive opportunity for growth. I'll give you one more minute to sketch that out. There might be 2 of them. I've got a couple in my life as well. I'm looking at my clock, by the way. I'm not reading. I'm not on Facebook, I promise. Okay, that's about a minute. So we're building some tools here for resilience in a tough, tough environment. Number 1, positive self-talk. Don't beat yourself up. Number 2, don't tell bad stories. Catch yourself when you're negative self-talk or when you're making up a really bad story. Number 3, what has happened in your life that at the time you thought was a horrible failure, but actually turned out to be a great opportunity for growth. The next tool, very quick story here. In 1990, I believe it was 2, I lived in Miami, Florida when Hurricane Andrew went through. And my house was right down on the water. And I evacuated in about 20 miles. And the house that I evacuated to, the roof came off at 3 o'clock in the morning, sucked everything out of the house. There was a whole bunch of us in the bathroom. And I looked up and the water was sloshing out of the toilet, hitting the walls, and water was shooting through the lock like a squirt gun, which when I realized the whole house was shaking back and forth, went back to try to find my house. We spent, I think it was 3 hours with a chainsaw trying to find where my house used to be. I ended up losing everything I owned in the world, everything. And then I also ended up living in my car for over a month. And then I moved into an abandoned apartment that had a giant hole in the roof with fiberglass and dead cockroaches. and lived there for several more months. And at the time, it was horrific. It was unbelievable. It was in this time of the year. It was August, and it was hot. And, I won't go into it. You guys can imagine. A couple of months living in my car in that apartment, lost everything I owned in the world. I look back now and realize it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my life. The reason is it taught me two key things. Number one, it's just stuff that everything can be taken away. You can't get it back. There's no way I could retrieve all those things. And number two, I used that as a touchstone for that. Hurricane Andrew was really, really hard, unbelievably hard, but I made it through it. And currently in situations, I look at them and I use this phrase. This is hard, but it's not nearly as bad as Hurricane Andrew. So I want you to think of something in your life that was really challenging and difficult, but you overcame it. And now that you look back, you can use that as strength to say, what I'm doing right now is really tough. This is hard, but I've been through worse. And I came out the other side stronger, and I learned really important lessons that have made me a better person. So that's this tool. What did I overcome that was really, really hard that I can use an example for myself to be more resilient and handle difficult challenges? Got, I think, two more here for resilience. Another one, very quick story. I'm extremely afraid of heights. I get bad vertigo if I'm on the edge of looking over the edge of the Grand Canyon or the edge of a tall building, everything starts spinning. And one of my buddies once, back in college or just a little bit after college, we were talking about the things that scare us the most. And I mentioned heights. So he came back about an hour later. We were at the gym. He left, came back. He said, all right, we got to go. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I've booked us to go skydiving. I'm like, you got to be kidding, Wayne. This is not funny. He's like, no, 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 get in the car. We're going. So we went there and flew up. And I got to tell you, when I got to the edge of the plane, and there were little, for those of you that have been skydiving, cars look tiny, everything's far away. I've got a picture here for folks who might not be able to see it of two people jumping out of an airplane, and you can see below them miles away, not miles away, thousands of feet away, how tiny everything is. Here's what I found out. That's really fun. I went a couple more times. Once I jumped out, I realized this is awesome. This is a blast. So now the tool that I use here is, I wonder what else I'm afraid of that if I just tried it would turn out to be fun. And for me, skydiving is the extreme. I think to myself, if I can jump out of a plane and it turned out to be a blast, I wonder what else I'm facing that it actually, if I went and faced the fear, it might turn out really fantastic. I'd like you to take a second here, and this one is in especially tough times. A lot of times we don't give ourselves credit for our strengths, for the things that we do well. So I'm just going to give you a minute here, and I'd like you to think through, what's your superpower? What are you really good at? What are you proud of? Mine is pattern recognition. Built my entire career around it. So what's yours? Just take a second and jot something down and be proud of that. Be proud of the fact that you're really, really good at that. Okay, here's what I want you to do. You jotted down something, pat yourself on the back of it, be proud of it, add to the list. After we're done today or at another time, list out 4 or 5 things you're really good at. You know what I mean? Your superpowers, the stuff you should be proud of. And what I would say is, when things are tough or challenging, focus on the fact that you're really good at some stuff. When you say, I can't handle this, I can't do this, this is too hard. No, back up and say, actually, I'm really good at a few things. And here's the key. If I could get good at those, I can get good at this. If I could learn how to do those other things really well, I can learn how to do this. It creates self-efficacy. Here's one of the most important things you can possibly learn in your life. And what I've got a picture here is of someone, and it's got a checklist, and someone is checking yes, they got to check in that box, and then there's a big X through the box that says no. And the idea here is focusing on events you can control.
John, you're not sharing the slides.
I'm not sharing the slides. Have I been sharing the slides up till now?
No.
I
Oh my
see the
gosh, it's just
slides.
me talking.
You see the
No, no,
slides?
no.
Yeah, we can see
We
it's
see
on
the
another
slides.
tab.
Okay, okay. Oh, thank you.
I was scared. I was like, they've been looking at me the whole time. No, I'm surprised we still have people left.
I had.
All right. So this is one of the most powerful things you can possibly learn. From a resilience standpoint, this is a life-changing idea. There are basically three levels of things in your life. There are stuff that is stuff you can control. And there's actually only two things. Two things in your life you truly can control. Your thoughts and your behavior. That is it. That's it. There is another circle of things you can impact or influence. You can't control them, but you can help. Your health is a good example of this. You can go to the gym, you can run, you can work out, you can eat healthy, and you can still get cancer. Or, in the middle of a marathon, drop dead from a heart attack. You can try to influence that, but you cannot control it. And on those things, you should put as much energy into positively influencing, positive impacting those. Then there's a long list of stuff you cannot control and never will control. And at the top of that list is other people. But we can put people, weather, traffic, taxes, on and on and on. Quite a while ago, I saw a guy in a parking lot who had a brand new BMW, and there was a big scratch across the side of it. And he was going ballistic. He was yelling and jumping up and down, and veins were sticking out of his neck. And he was just that. And I thought to myself, dude, that ain't going to make the scratch go away. There's just nothing you can do about that. So here's the key, a very powerful tool is every time you're stressed or anxious or focused on something, just back up and say, do I have any control here? And if the answer is no, let go of it. Stop thinking about it. Don't be stressed. Uh, for some people, something terrible will happen and they look at it and go, there's nothing I can do about this. They're like me, when I lost everything, I'm like, well, I'm not getting it back. So stressing about it, being anxious, worried about it, ain't going to bring anything back. So I'd like you to work on this. Really powerful. Take complete control as much as you can of what you're thinking and how you behave. In any of the areas you can impact or influence, attempt to do that. And then last but not least, everything on that really long list of stuff that you can't control. Once you start getting wrapped around the axle or anxious or stressed or worried, think in your mind, there's nothing I can do about this. And all this worry is wasting precious time. So two things, and I think I'm going to end here. I've got one more slide, but I want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A if I can. Leading from the middle, where you guys are, all of you, most of us, are in a place where it's high responsibility but limited authority, constant pressure, but not enough resources. And for those of you that might not be able to see the picture here, it's a guy holding his head screaming because his head's about to explode from pressure. So I'm sure as all of you are looking at this, hits close to home. And I'm going to put on the resource page an entire report on managing up and managing across. That could be a full day workshop. But really, there's three key things to keep in mind. And what I've got a picture here is of a pair of glasses. And at the top of the page, it says clarity. The best way to lead from the middle is when you're leading up is to get as much as possible, exceedingly clear expectations of what success looks like and the resources you need to succeed. Very challenging, but this is the conversation you need to have up. What am I supposed to do? How are we going to measure success? Do I have the time, effort, money, resources in order to make that happen? It's very, very, very hard. And some cultures, it's almost impossible. That's not fair. That's not the best way, in my opinion, to lead a company. But what did we just talk about? Control, impact, influence, and not control. You can control how you think about it and how you choose to behave. You can look for anywhere you could influence it or impact it. And then in some areas, in some organizations, you're just going to have to not just going to have to learn that getting frustrated and anxious and angry and upset isn't hurting anyone except for you. Managing across is getting very clear roles and responsibilities, knowing who's responsible for what and what your role is, what your decision-making authority is, what your levels are, and then having enough communication to coordinate between those groups and make sure that you're aligned, you're on the same page, you're all working towards the same goal, and communicate that often. And make sure that the handoffs are smooth because you understand your roles and responsibilities. You're constantly commuting and coordinating. And that way people know what's going to happen, who's in charge, where we need to move forward. Uh, Again, tough because you're working with peers and you can't tell them what to do. You can't, quote unquote, make them do anything as if, because you get to the lower level, you can at some level in a hierarchical organization tell other people what to do or direct their behavior, direct their actions. So looking down, and I said this a little bit earlier, the key to accountability and creating a great culture is extremely clear expectations, letting people know what your priorities are, setting high standards of excellence, and caring about people, moral love, enough to hold them to that standard, and be kind, not necessarily nice. You can be nice to them, but you also have to be kind enough to hold them to that level of accountability, and then support them as much as you possibly can with resources, time, help, equipment, whatever you can possibly get for them. It's just this simple and just this hard. I know it when you look at these things, you go, wow. But again, control, influence, impact. What can you do to make this better? I have 2 slides left, and I'm going to give you one here. And if people want to stay on a little bit longer and ask questions, this is what they've found. And I'm going to back up one. The number one thing that impacts having people who report having a successful, happy life that they look back on and say, this was a great life, is relationships. Very strong, important relationships, husband, wife, partner, brother, sister, friend, whatever it might be. But it's those strong relationships that help people be resilient in the toughest time. So here's your last homework. When we're done, what I'd like you to do is write down a list of the people in your life that you would truly trust your life to. I call it the people that you would give your DNR, do not resuscitate, to. Write down that list of the people you truly, truly would trust your life to, and then call them and tell them that, or have lunch with them and tell them that. Here's what you're going to find is that's going to increase your relationship dramatically. And you will know that no matter what, through thick or thin, you have someone you can go to that you can trust, and they trust you and believe in you. And even in the most challenging times, that through the resilience, there's someone there for you. And that's gonna help you a ton in having a happier life, a life that you would consider more successful, and a life with a lot less stress and more resilience. So Crystal, let me finish there. I'm going to escape this, stop sharing my screen. And if you've got some closing thoughts, please add those. And then I'm happy to stay if people have some questions.
Well, my closing thoughts are thank you and everybody for joining. Thank you for staying on a little bit longer, teaching us about the characteristics of a good leader, helping us to see what we would want to see in our leaders and the leaders that we want to be, IQ, EQ, and AQ, but especially those last things about leading from the middle. I just would love if people start asking questions if you had any.
Yep, I believe we were 12 to 1:30 and we've hit 1:30, but I have nothing else planned important after this. So if you want to stay and ask some questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand and Adriana will help me with those.
While people raise their hands, I would like to remind people we'll send out an evaluation. Please complete it. We'd love to hear your feedback and how we can do better all the time. So I don't
And,
see any hands, right?
Thank
and
you
we'll,
for all the thank yous.
and we will send with Crystal the landing page with all the resources that John has been mentioning throughout the session.
Thank you. And yes, that would be great. And we can send it out.
You guys are sweet. Thank you for all the thank yous and the hearts and the smiles and the claps. That's really cool.
Thank you, John, and happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you too, Julie. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.
And hi to all of